1 week anniversary of being in TimeBolt. I already love it. I've already made some great projects.
Good
That's
question.
support time, or do you do it individually?
We don't want you to have to lose out on using turbo mode, chapter markers, stuff like that. So now I hit export video.
You have to choose your folder. It won't automatically use your source folder.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You're going to see they import all in sequential order, okay? They're all imported in sequential order, and you go like this. And now what he would have to work with is not just one long timeline.
That is going to increase the value of the green on both sides, left and right.
Correct. The entire file.
Is there a way to speed up my tone?
And just make sure that you're spending the time to know what use possible inside TimeBolt, the punch, the fast forward. You may be given a presentation and you have a demonstration where you want to show, not tell. You still see the action, just 3 times faster. You can place this into an email.
And without even touching it, it'll just play. People understood that you can do that with this software.
Welcome to TimeBolt Office Hours on August 1st, 2024. You're live with Doug and Quinson. We are here to answer your questions, check your workflows, and generally just make sure that you get the best out of TimeBolt. It does look like we've got some participants today and customers. I'd like to just go ahead and jump right into questions if that works for you.
Yeah, hi. How are you doing?
Hi. Good to see you again.
Good. Likewise. The thing is, I have in Camtasia 2 tracks. Yeah, one track is it's more like a template. For example, in every of my videos, I don't have to do it again and again. I have some lower thirds like, hey, subscribe or support my channel in sharing the video, that I don't have to pull it in again and again manually. I just have one track that is set with these things. As soon as I do this, I follow the guide, I import the video, I go to TimeBolt and try to import the cuts, but it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. It only works if the video is the only thing. Yeah. It's a single track and nothing else.
Quinton, is there any other work? We don't get that many requests anymore for Camtasia type editing. Is there any other workaround?
As I said, the only workaround for this would be to render the video in TimeBolt first and then put it.
Yeah, but then you have to render it 2 times. That's
exactly. It's rendered twice.
So it takes a little. I don't know. I just find Camtasia pleasing on the eye and very nice to cut, but I have to try to get into DaVinci Resolve probably. But I just do some very basic editing, and then if you go into these other editing softwares, you think, oh, what is all this bells and whistles? I don't need it. Is it better with DaVinci Resolve? It's more easy.
One thing that I can think of is you could consider each of these tracks as separate projects and then copy one track to the other.
How would that work?
For example, I don't use Camtasia, so I'm assuming this would work. This is a hypothetical. What could happen is you could edit one track at a time, right? Because you can edit your video track first, save that project, open the next track in a different project with a different track, then copy that or export it from Camtasia into the other project. That could be like a workaround.
Okay.
Once, essentially.
I could try that.
Yeah, you
I don't know if it
deal
works
with one track at a time.
I don't know if it works like that you have 2 projects open at the same time, so I can copy it. But I
close one project and then export the other, because
okay.
Camtasia can export to Camtasia.
Yeah.
Camtasia can export to Camtasia, right? I think I'm not saying render the file, I'm saying save it. I don't know how it works in Camtasia. I'm sure you can save a project in one.
You can save a
then
project,
open that project and then
but if I open it, it's considered like a new project, and it just opens this project.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a concept of timelines. In a lot of softwares, what you have is the timeline, right? So you can save the timeline separately and then copy and paste the timeline in a separate into another project. Maybe that would work. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know the details.
It also sounds like this. It might be a good if you're doing this. We do have support for DaVinci Resolve. I understand not wanting to have to go in and learn a new editor, but if you're doing basic just overlay stuff, that would be a quick solution. You're dealing with XML, you might learn a whole new set of tricks. But if you're just doing lower thirds, it would be learning how to do lower thirds inside DaVinci Resolve, and we have support for that as well. I just don't know right now with the projects we have going on if we're going to be switching over and doing multi-track stuff for Camtasia, right? We just don't have that big enough demand.
Understand.
Based on what we do have going on, we're trying to actually eliminate, for example, with Camtasia, a lot of people are using Camtasia to combine video clips and intro and an outro. Well, we built that into our new Stitch products. I don't know if you have seen that or heard about that, but Stitch allows you to combine multiple files inside TimeBolt and only render once.
I don't know if you have plans for it. Like my cutting is very basic, but the only thing why I go to Camtasia is, for example, my intro. I could do this with Stitch, but also maybe a blend in or blend out effect. I don't know if you have any plans to grow beyond what you have now, probably also have multi-track someday or something, because most of the things I need are there in TimeBolt, but there are just some few additions that I can do in TimeBolt.
That makes sense. Well, we've got that ticket. We've got that ticket. Appreciate the question, and if Quincy can get on that, we will.
No, I already had a conversation with him about that.
Yeah,
I did send a response to that.
I would just say, if possible, this might be a good time just to learn DaVinci Resolve, like just the basics. Just learning the lower third and Resolve. I'm sure it's going to be very fast.
And there
exporting XML into Resolve is very fast. It's the same export XML inside TimeBolt, right? And it just opens up in Resolve. So that's a very quick study as well. So I usually don't like push off requests like this, but it's just like with Camtasia, where there hasn't been a huge demand for.
Understood. The second problem is also with Camtasia because somehow it messes up the cuts. I didn't realize it because I checked my TimeBolt cuts and they were fine, but then like I put them to Camtasia and they were all like, I don't know, strange. I don't know if it's with maybe because they have now a new version, if that's worthwhile to investigate, or you're just done.
You can
with
send
Camtasia.
a video of that happening if you want.
I have the video. I exported just today. I worked on a video. The TimeBolt file, that is fine, and then the Camtasia file exported the video. But as it's in German, I don't know if because the mistakes are very small. You probably would just notice them when they are like in German, that there's a word cut off or mangled up somehow. But you haven't heard about that before. That the cuts are definitely not like I have them in TimeBolt. The TimeBolt video is fine, but something while importing them to Camtasia got all messed up. Maybe a millisecond back and forth wrong.
So if you send a video of your workflow and the stuff that you're doing, we can actually see it. Just record what the issue is. We can take a look and then send the source file. We can, whether it's in German or what, just walk us through like that.
I did. I hope you got it. That was.
I'll check it out.
It was a lady who wrote with me, and then she said, "Also, can you make a video?" And I made a video, but I didn't get an answer then.
Okay, we'll check it out.
All right, cool. We'll check that out. Thanks, Maximilian. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Let's see. Is Kathleen?
Yes.
Hi. How can we help you today?
Okay, I have been this is my 1 week anniversary of being in TimeBolt. I already love it. I've already made some great projects. I've got a very specific question, beginner question, 3 MP4 files going in. I want to be able to manually edit each. On the output side, I want 1 MP4 file to upload to YouTube. I understand that it needs to be stitched, but I haven't been able to comprehend there's 2 videos that cover it that I've been able to see, and I haven't been able to ferret out precisely my steps. Especially, I can see where I pull the 3 together and then can export, but at what point do I do my edits? How does that flow go?
Great question. Let's go ahead. I'll show you that very quickly. Let's see. Did you happen to see our blog post on this as well? We actually
blog post. No, please point it to your blog. Your documentation is empty.
We're close. We're very close to that. But we basically are breaking up Stitch into like, this is how you use Stitch for basically putting together a single MP4, and then this is how you use Stitch for creating a teaser video. If you click on that.
Okay, I think this looks like very comprehensive, just what I'm hoping to have.
Essentially with Stitch, you're going to have each video that you're going to be dropping in. Are you able to see my screen over here?
I can, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Think about Stitch is you've got 3 video segments that you were just talking about. You're going to put your first video segment in, okay? And that video segment is you're going to edit it inside TimeBolt. Each one of the video segments is edited. The ability to stitch is the export part of TimeBolt, okay? You've still got your sculpting, you're adding your enhancements, and then you export. So each one of these files that you're going to stitch together still need to be run in TimeBolt separately to create the cuts and your cut instructions, right? Because you want it all cut up, and then you want to stitch it all together into one nicely polished MP4, right?
My inputs to Stitch will be the TimeBolt.mp4 files?
But you don't have to render them each, okay? We're looking at
what does that mean? Because that's another keyword.
Totally.
I've looked up render everywhere and I cannot find its definition. And
just
so
export, render, export, like make a video.
So rendering basically is the process of, you see the green parts, right? In TimeBolt, what rendering does is it creates a new MP4 file from all of the green sections you can see. So it's a separate MP4 file, separate from the original one that you put inside TimeBolt.
Right. The one that you append the TimeBolt to the end of the file name. On the
underscore TimeBolt.mp4.
Then if I do not render it, what is my output?
Yeah, exactly. That's what Doug will tell you now.
That's a good question. If you were to render it, it would create a physical output. You'd hit export video and it would render a new MP4 with all these cuts made. Gotcha. That takes time. Okay. What we're saying is that you don't need to take that time. You can save cuts right here. See this? Save timeline cuts. Okay. Oh,
okay.
there we go.
Okay, show
Okay.
me again.
Right
Yes.
here.
Oh, okay.
Save timeline cut.
Yeah.
Okay. When I hit save that, okay, it's called a JSON. So this JSON, I'm just showing you this. You don't have, it's just a bunch of cut lists, the
Gotcha.
cut
I love
instructions,
it.
right?
That's
It's 8 kilobits in size, right? Really small file size.
Oh,
I don't have to render that. I don't have to render this. I've already got that cut list. When I open up Stitch, okay, here, let me do this again here. Open Stitch.
that's going to save a file with an extension .json
Well,
for each of my segments.
exactly. All of it. I forgot which one I even threw in the TimeBolt here.
It's, you can just see the name on the JSON, 172235.
2235.
They're all 172235.
5229.
229.
Yeah, your original raw file, your original source file. What that means, right? It's just the
I
what you
do.
threw in TimeBolt. And now you see these little things right here. Apply
Yes.
JSON file.
I've seen that, not known what it meant. Gotcha.
And you're going to go back to the JSON file that you just created. And now you've got this JSON file applied. The first thing you're going to do before you do any of this is you're going to do all of your cut work inside TimeBolt. And after you get done with each one of your segments, you're going to save the JSON file for each one of the segments. So you'll have 3 JSON files and 3 raw files that you started with. Okay. Then you
So
go in.
when I bring them in, I bring in apply.
Exactly. You're
Gotcha.
built like this is the export piece of TimeBolt. Bring and apply. Now, while you're applying these things, okay, remember, you can activate turbo mode if these are talking segments for each one of these. Imagine they're like blocks, right? I'm really working on a way to understand visually how to they're like blocks that you're applying effects to that all come together as one final block, one final MP4, right?
How does this activate turbo mode compare to when you scroll down and then there's this thing where you can choose it?
Good
That's
question.
with export time, or do you do it individually?
If I was exporting one clip, I would do activate turbo mode without ever going into like Stitch. Turbo mode only works if you're rendering in TimeBolt. You are rendering, whether using Stitch or exporting a single video, that's all in TimeBolt. If this is the same turbo mode that is here, but if you have 3 videos, if this was just one video, I would just do activate turbo mode and then render, export video, right? But you've got 3 videos. We don't want you to have to lose out on using turbo mode, chapter markers, stuff like that. All of this is built. This is the beauty of it once you understand it. Like I can type YouTube chapter 1, right? And as I'm going through, I do all this stuff. I'm just resaving kind of a JSON here. Then if you like applied the wrong one, you can take it off. I'm going to apply this new JSON file that I just did because it has the chapters
It
in
now
it.
has chapters in it.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, you can remove
And
it. Oh, because it's just a text file, you can drop it and put a new one in.
Exactly. You're not having to render anything first, right? And we're going to stack all this up. Hell, you can add in an intro, like if you have a pre-produced show intro or an outro, like, so for example, I do, we have this electric, this is like an outro, right? That,
oh, okay.
you see how slow that is? Like this can also get turbo mode. Like I can speed this up by like 1.5, right? So now
individually to that segment.
Exactly. Correct. Now this allows you, and Sandra, for everyone that's like that's on, this allows you to just, you can record different segments at different times and still combine it into a single video file without having to open up a really heavy editor like DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that. I've done some stuff for real estate where you're walking around and you're kind of giving a tour of the house. You got to walk outside, show the pool, go back inside, and you're able to shoot those in different segments and just line them all up as one video after you TimeBolt each individual segment, right? So now I hit export video and I can add a logo.
Where's that? Pardon me. Oh, way up to, gotcha. Up at the top.
After I got the turbo modes applied and all that stuff, I hit export video. And here we have a lot of export options. Produces high quality renderings. Okay. I usually do, my stuff is shot in 4K. Maybe yours is too. You've got all these different choices of frame rates. Just choose the one that's closest to the frame rate of the original source file, which is probably like 30 frames per second. Before I hit export, I'll go download chapters text file right here. Is that once I hit download chapters text file, through the magic of math and the wizard, who I call Quinston, these are your YouTube chapters that are going to be able to be copy and paste in the description. If you had like 3 different segments here, all with individual chapters, and let's say you added this was like a show intro, okay, as opposed to like an outro, like now you're adding time to the front. It'll add all those up. It'll account for the first 15 seconds being an intro. right? Before it actually starts with your chapter markers. All that math works out extremely well. See, like I could do this again. You will see a times difference between these. See how this one starts at 20 seconds and this one starts at 7? Well, that's because I added the intro in front. If I add
where does it say 20 seconds? I don't see 20 seconds on the screen. I'm sorry.
No, so see where it says like right here, 7 seconds.
The second row.
Type YouTube chapter 1.
Oh, 7 seconds.
And then when I put the intro in there, we're now at 20 seconds. Type YouTube chapter 1.
Because the intro took up the first 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't overwrite it. Then you have to figure out which one is the one you want to use, or does it overwrite it?
It will give you the latest one. The latest one is the one which you should use usually.
Yeah, it'll give you the latest one. If you save 5 different JSONs, it'll give you make sure to look at your 5th JSON, right? It's not overwriting them each time. It's a great question. And then you simply export video, name the output. And this is where I think people were asking, Quinston, there's just this one, when you hit export, you do have to go like line up the file. What I'm saying, like put it in the folder. I think TJ had a question about that as well.
You have to choose your folder. It won't automatically use your source folder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it.
But the only issue with that is like in Stitch, we are dealing with multiple files. We don't know which folder each file could be from. Usually it's a good idea. Like I would suggest, like my recommendation is to use one folder for all your source clips so that you don't have to like switch between folders. But when I was designing this software, I was like, okay, I actually don't know which folder the source is going to be from. Force the user into one particular folder might not be the best idea, which is why we chose the documents.
That makes sense. You could have Stitch from multiple different file sources. Which one are you going to choose as default?
My recommendation always is that if you're doing a Stitch project, always have all your source clips in one folder. Create a new folder and name it based on date and whatever you're doing.
And then where will the text file be output?
So the text file is based on the source clip. One source clip will have the text file will be based on that source clip. It's always going to be in that same folder. For example, in TimeBolt, when you save the JSON file, it doesn't ask you where to save it. It just gives you the location of where it was saved. That is because it's saved in the same folder with the same prefix name as the original file.
If one clip gave you chapters 1 and 2 and another gave you chapters 3 and 4, you'll have 2 separate text files that you'll have to combine.
No, you're going to get one text file. We're just saying it just doesn't overwrite itself. You're going to get one text file for all 3 so that you just copy and paste that are going to add all those together for you. You're not going to have to do anything. Just make sure you're using the latest text file that it generates. If you generate multiple, it's not complicated. I'm not trying to complicate this. You just
always use the latest file that you have.
Yeah. And that file will be located in the same place as my output.
Exactly. And just you'll be able to see also like when it comes to like render queue, this also tells you where your files are located right here. See wherever it download it to.
That was a second button from the top left.
There, see now it's rendered. It's rendered a single MP4 file. You can see this is faster.
I had a 5-hour, but then I already saw a video that told me what I was doing wrong that caused it to take 5 hours to render.
That should work well for you.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So then may I ask one more question on render, because it's a very important concept. I'm going to look for it in your blog because you don't have it in your documentation. The inputs to a render is your raw MP4, and you see it visually in the form of that timeline with the red and the green areas. You can output it directly.
Render is an activity that happens. Render is not an event. Like render is not a feature. It's an event that happens when you are basically creating a new video file from an existing video file.
Make a video and put it.
So once you pull it in and you see the red and the green, has it been rendered yet?
No, it hasn't. There is no rendering happening. There is rendering happening with a different kind of rendering. The render we are talking about conceptually is the render of the video itself after the cuts have been created. And when you click on the export button, that's the render we are alluding to.
Rendering a video.
There's a conceptual rendering when you bring your raw file in and you see the red and the green. It shows you what would be rendered were you to immediately do render now. We don't try to talk about it as being a rendered file because you're seeing it in front of you.
Yeah.
And
so
in fact, you can save that.
This is called a preview. This will be called a preview, essentially.
Okay, and then you can save that in form of a .json file.
Yeah, a text file.
Correct. Keep that info without that in combination with your original MP4 will get you right back to where you were.
Exactly. Correct.
And then it only actually renders when you request an output.
Rendering in TimeBolt, we have different ways of going about rendering because we wanted TimeBolt to be interoperable with different software. As Maximilian's workflow is essentially taking these cuts and putting them into a program called Camtasia. That's also something that TimeBolt does. TimeBolt also allows you to use Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro with the same cuts that you have here. Rendering is a concept that's built into TimeBolt if you don't want to use any of these other programs. The JSON file is unique to TimeBolt also because What happens is when you're combining multiple files, if you just render the video in TimeBolt and then try to join them together, you're going to have to render twice. Ideally not good, right? Because you're going to lose quality the more times you render the same file. So to circumvent that issue, we invented this thing called Stitch, where instead of having to render the same video twice, you could export a text file which contains the cuts that the original file had, and then you basically add that text file into each of the segments in Stitch. You have to render only once. So you basically avoid rendering twice. That's the reason why it is the way it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm taken care of. I'm a fly on the wall for the rest of the meeting.
Great. Thank you for the questions.
Yeah.
Sandra, how you doing? Nice to see you again.
Good, thank you. My question is, when we last spoke, you mentioned that I could take my original, save my JSON file, and then send those two as separate files to my editor. But is there a way where I can send everything in one? Like, can I have the original footage and then put the JSON file in it on TimeBolt and then send everything together? Because I just was watching your introductory video and I thought that's what you said, but then again, I may have misunderstood.
What you have, Sandra, is that you found a way to use TimeBolt to cut down, to basically control the x-axis, to be able to, you work with a designer and you want to send your designer, what you were doing, you was rendering a finished video inside TimeBolt after you did all your cut work and sending that to your designer. So he had one MP4 to design with, but it was the length that you wanted. What I was explaining to you is that you don't have to render that video first. You can send him an XML file because he's using Adobe Premiere. I believe that's what it is. And that obviates the need to render a video first. You can send the XML file with the raw source file. It has the cut list. He's able to take that and do all his drag handle control stuff and have all that timeline delineated. It's actually better for him as well. What you're asking is there's always going to be just two files that you send, your raw source file. And again, this is just an afterthought. Okay. An XML file is just like an afterthought, right? Less than a megabit in size. All you're going to do is just hit export XML. Let's say this was your video.
Doug, we can't see that.
Is just imagine, Sandra, that this is your video. Okay. And you've gone through, you've done all your edits. Now you're going to go down and you're going to hit XML, save as an XML file. Okay, so this XML file, you can open up where the path is saved. All you're going to do is take this XML file and whatever
the source video, 229.
229. It's this one right here. See, I've got those two files and I would just throw them into a Google Dropbox, right? He would get the source file, which is this unedited file, and the cut instructions in the XML, and that's what you would send him.
For the Adobe Premiere, I can use XML. What should I use if somebody uses CapCut?
CapCut. Okay, that's a different question. I would recommend with CapCut, are you making like vertical videos for a phone on CapCut, or are they just straight up using CapCut to edit with?
He just said that he uses Adobe Premiere Pro most of the time and sometimes CapCut. I just want to make sure that he can use whatever I send.
It doesn't matter if he uses CapCut. Send him the XML file. He can always take the XML file, export a video, and put it into CapCut. If he has access to Premiere Pro, if he already has easily render a video from it, then it doesn't matter, because if you always send him an XML file, he can always open it up in that program and then export a video from Premiere Pro into CapCut. It wouldn't matter to him. Yeah, there is one option in TimeBolt called export clips to folder. Instead of like creating one big MP4 file, there's something called export clips to folder, which basically takes each of those green parts and creates separate clips from each so that you can then take that into CapCut and then add. Like, Doug, can you just show an example of that once? I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, because if somebody already has access to Premiere Pro, they wouldn't really need it, because when you like hard render those clips. Here's
an example. Let me show you real quick. I was just making a video about this. Let's say this is a vertical video I shot. Okay. Here's everything that we were just talking about in action. Here's a vertical video I shot. So this was done on my phone. Okay, what happens is like now I can apply the timeline cuts that I had already made. Okay, I got my punch values and all that stuff. Everything is just, that's what I spent time editing. Now what I can do is go down here. Hell, I could even do activate turbo mode with this, but export clips to a folder. And what this is going to do, you select it. I'm going to select this folder. It's going to render each and every single segment, okay? For CapCut separately. This is CapCut, and what I'm going to do is, after this gets done rendering, it shouldn't take that long. It really shouldn't take that long. But what happens is, as this is rendering, you're going to see each one of these, you're just going to let this go. Each one of the cuts that I made is basically an individual clip that's rendered. CapCut can't handle XML or anything like that, okay? It can only handle like a MP4, like a MOV, like a video file. What the benefit of exporting his clips is if you knew like what he was using, like he's like, hey, listen, I want this video exported for CapCut. You would do it this way. You would export clips as a folder or export clips to a folder, because now each one of those cuts that were made is now rendered as an individual clip, dropped in sequential order into a folder, to where now, I think that's it. See, it got done finished right here. So now what I'm going to do, I hit import Thursday for CapCut. And what you will see, you're going to see they import all in sequential order. Okay. They're all imported in sequential order, and you go like this. And now what he would have to work with is not just one long timeline where he's got to like figure out like, okay, where does this go? Or where does this statement end? Where does it begin? Rambling idiot or fool in video. You'll come to learn. I took some of your advice, Winston. I'm starting to make some stuff that makes you hate the sound of your own voice. I can see how the punch values and everything is punch out. I can split. You can see like I can go in and out. Like it basically took all the effects and put it right into the video itself. And now all of a sudden, when he works in CapCut, all your captions become much more accurate. Okay. And because looking at on a sentence level, basically how TimeBolt cuts it up, and now it becomes real easy to drop your transitions in because all of your timeline's already cut up. XML, but XML allows you to
drop a transitions and drop one. Because these are individual clips, you can like one in directly in the middle.
What I'm saying, like he doesn't have to go cut it up. That is a benefit of doing it. That's how you want to send files. If you're sending it with CapCut, is simply export as clips. You can add if you're exporting as clips, one of the benefits of exporting not with XML is that with exporting as clips, you can add turbo mode as well. Okay. If you find that you like yourself talking 12% faster, it doesn't change the pitch. It just increases words per minute. You can actually bake that right into, I could export clips as a folder that, again, you are in control of how long this video is and the pace of information. With XML, that is the only thing where you can't apply turbo mode before you export.
Okay.
I would still recommend XML.
Yeah.
Even after all this, I would still say send XML.
Yeah, I'm going to send XML. What is the JSON file for then?
The JSON file is simply the cut list. It is just kind of like XML. Okay. It's kind of like the same purpose, but that's like XML is how other programs read the cut list, and our program reads the cut list as a JSON. They're simple text. They're just text. That's why they're under a megabit. Like you could have a 2-hour video and your cut list is under a megabit. Yeah. It's just a bunch of like instructions. Make a cut here, punch in here, applying clothes right to a raw timeline. Like
XML, FCPXML, and all these TSC proj, all these formats are invented in order to transfer files from one program to another. The problem is that CapCut doesn't accept them. CapCut doesn't read JSON, CapCut doesn't read XML. It doesn't accept it. It only accepts like the video files themselves. That's the problem. XML is great because most softwares nowadays accept it. Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, they all accept DaVinci Resolve. They accept XML. CapCut doesn't, which is the only issue.
And that's exactly, we're circumventing getting around XML for CapCut. Yeah. If that's his only editor, but he's in Premiere, guys. So you're just going to send XML.
Yes, I'll send XML. I have another question if you have time. I don't know if somebody else has more questions.
Sure, go ahead.
When I redid one of the videos that you and I looked at in our previous call, I changed the frame rate and made it match. And then I did my cut. I'm planning to send the raw video plus the XML to my editor, but I exported it anyway to see how it looks. It improved on the lip sync, except for one small area towards the end of the video. And then my question is, I deleted some areas where I take a breath, right? I try to breathe in order to catch and start my new sentence. And when I do that, it cuts off the words. So I had to go back and do it again. Or I cut it, let's say I finish a sentence and I make the cut. But when I do it, it is cut off. My words are cut off. I'm not finishing my words.
Your words, this is the thing. This isn't like TimeBolt isn't about transcriptions or anything like that. It's straight up sound detection. You have entire control over like what is considered a sound and not. What you want to do is before you go in and edit your final timeline, okay, the first thing you want to do is get your settings correct, okay? Like here, let me just show you an example of what happens when words, and that's just controlled by one thing, okay? Your settings, one variable. Imagine if you look here, okay? I've got, this measure at 33. You want to test if something's being cut off, if words are being cut off. Let me see if I can find it. What do you think I should put this at for your words to get cut off?
Make it smaller. Make it like minus 15 or something.
Can't help it. I've got such perfect audio.
Got it.
See, lots of words cut off there. Minus 20. I'm just trying to see if I can get like that. Exactly like this. This is probably what you're talking about, right? Like there's like these little bumps or things that like if you're
At the end of the end of a sentence.
like at the end of a sentence or like hell, here's makes you not sound like software that sound like a and makes you not sound like it just cut off makes you not sound like before you go in here and do anything by editing, you want to get your filter below sound settings correct. Once you get this correct based on how you record, it'll just work for you, okay? Because it's a consistent way that you're recording. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test a decibel level between minus 30 to minus 42. I could get into all the theory and practice, but if you just just start at minus 30 and then do minus 42 just to see what your timeline difference is.
Increase by 5 or 6.
And just kind of work in between, right? If I put this in at minus 30, okay, it's not to change left and right padding, leave left and right padding alone, okay? I hit update silence detection settings. Now look, it's recognized as a word or as a sound, and you will no longer have that problem.
Okay, well, let me say this. When I play it and I listen to it in TimeBolt, it shows that it's a complete finished word. But once I export, that's the issue.
It's a variable frame rate file.
It's
a VFR file.
Yeah, I've went over that with her as well. How she was recording on a Samsung SU something like, and it was like 55% variable frame rate.
That is a file.
That's a file. You got to convert that to constant frame rate first. Did you convert it to constant frame rate?
We have that.
I showed.
So I basically use what you showed me.
Correct.
The first thing I did was do the conversion. I applied the cut, but I have.
If you did the conversion, you're not applying. Yes, okay, because you already. But see, this is the thing. You already had your timeline cut up prior to that. It was basing.
No, don't apply it again. You can't apply the same
You were
thing
basing.
Again.
You were what probably happened is you were basing the cuts from the variable frame rate file that may have had some of the issues already in it. I didn't even think about how that could happen.
Yeah.
You were applying cuts based on a variable frame rate file that may have had like a little sliver of another word already done. From this point forward, okay, you were looking at
brand new file. Yeah.
Brand new file. You know what I'm saying? Just brand new file. Convert to constant frame rate because you have 55% variable frame rate. Then make sure that you go in and your filter below is minus 30 to minus 42 dB. Okay. And where none of these ends of words are getting cut off. And you can leave that alone. Now you go in and you begin to sculpt your timeline with SOB, stuff like that.
But once I apply the variable frame rate, can I keep working on TimeBolt once that is done, or do I have to export it and import it again?
Doug, can you just show the workflow? This is empty TimeBolt. The first thing you do is click on the variable frame rate detector. That's the first thing.
If you already know it has variable frame rate though, right? If you already know it has variable frame rate, you don't have to, because
it's not, there's no issue, then it's fine. But this is the first thing you usually do.
This is how we identified you had the problem. So now that we know that you're recording with variable frame rate, we don't have to go detect it. We can just do a re-encoder, and which we also have. It's just the step that comes after this. But there's also up in this tools menu, re-encoder. You just go straight
even
here.
He has variable frame rate.
I do.
I do.
And that's an iPhone. But it wasn't 55%.
It's not bad. This one is only 0.94% variable frame rate. It's not like 55%. It's fine.
I'm going to just hit convert to constant frame rate. Once you're converted to constant frame rate, just get rid of the source file. This is your new source file, the constant frame rate. You know what I'm saying?
CFR is your new source file. Yeah.
So you don't ever have to worry about that other file ever again. When you're sending it to your guy, you're going to send him the one that has the CFR. He's going to appreciate that as well. That's like Premiere. All those absolutely do not get along with variable frame rate files. That's what I'm.
What are you using to record?
A Samsung
S24 Ultra.
Okay.
And they've got a problem with doing variable frame rates even when specific settings are applied. And it's heavy variable frame rate. It wasn't just like a 0.0009862%. Does that answer your question, Sandra? We're converting it, and then you're just getting rid of the old variable frame rate file and just start anew with the constant frame rate file, do your cuts inside TimeBolt, save the XML, and you'll have you won't have to worry about applying any cuts or anything like that from an old variable frame rate file.
I get it. I understand it.
It was just when we applied those old cuts, I forgot that like, because it was based on variable frame rates, there were probably still some slivers and stuff that it had captured that wouldn't do naturally.
So since I changed the settings on my phone, I'm going to create an entire new video and see if that helps it when I run the test to see what the frame rate is.
And you can also, if you already did if you are one of your old videos and you did a constant converted to constant, just throw that into TimeBolt without messing with like applying any JSON.
Don't apply a new time.
Just play with the settings and you'll see that it won't cut it off. And if it,
there is a trick to remember what to do if you are cutting off the sides of the words, and that is to essentially increase the negative value. So if you have smaller greens and you want more greens, then you increase the value basically. So if it's minus 30, you make it minus 35. Increase the value to basically expand the greens. Make more negative to get a wider green.
That is going to increase the value of the green on both sides, left and right.
Correct. The entire file.
Okay.
But that's the thing. If it's getting cut off, Doug, can you drop in your file once, the one you had just now? TimeBolt, first what TimeBolt does is it tries to automatically detect it.
Right.
Can you go to the first one? The first cut has, if you see the first cut, the start of the word is getting cut off there. So now what I will do is, logically what I would do is, and also it's also written there, after filter below sound level, that title, it says make more negative to capture more audio. It's written in the heading itself. Like in the title itself, make more negative to capture more audio.
Right.
So now it was 33. So now he's writing minus 40.
right? We want to get rid of it. Like this may be
and look at both sides. Okay. Look at the start and look at the end. The same green cut.
Yeah.
The same green section.
See,
The end is over there and the start is over there. So see how it's not going to change equally. It's going to be unequal because it's going to detect different sounds in both sides.
And we got padding. And you got padding.
You put minus twice. See that now?
I see it. I see
It's
how
perfect
it
now.
increased. Yeah.
And now now this constant frame rate, it's going to render or save XML perfectly, and you'll be good to go. All right. Well, thank you, and feel free to stay on. And if you have any more questions, or just hang out. Thanks for choosing TimeBolt. Celia?
It's good. I'm not here with a question. I'm just here to learn, and I'm learning a bunch. So
Excellent. Well, great to have you. Scott, how you doing?
Hey man, how you doing?
Good.
I didn't get a chance to catch you last time. So I'm catching a little bit before my next appointment. Oh, sorry, I came on late. I don't like doing that.
Oh, that's all right. Do you have any specific questions?
I have something up on TimeBolt.
We spoke last week, didn't we?
It was two weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Quinton and TJ. When I have a video in like right now, so this is my strategy, which is the wrong one that we talked about before, but I already had it done prior. I would do my video from my iPhone, and then I would go to iMovie and I just go through it because I like listening to it, and then I'll just cut up, and I used to just send that to the editor to edit it. I don't know which one he uses anyway, whether it's Final Cut or DaVinci or whatever, but I just decided to take it back also to TimeBolt and see how it would get some of the ums and the spaces in between and chunk it up for them. But for me, it's exporting. I know you mentioned, and I'm not computer literate, I'm financial literate for 20 years. Oh, bear with me. That's Quinton's job. He's the professional there. I'm professional for life insurance. When it comes to exporting, I know you said XML, which is that has all cut. When I rendered, like I rendered one the other night, it took a while, which I know you said just wait till the next night because it'll take a little bit. If I take an XML file, where can I put it if I don't even have?
You have Final Cut Pro, right? You have Final Cut Pro, right?
I don't. I looked. I didn't buy it. I don't have it.
Oh, cool.
I use iMovie is what I've been using for the last, just to look at it. I have subscriptions to Descript, CapCut. I paid for it.
Are you looking for alternatives to render this video?
No, I'm really just looking at alternatives to
Fastest workflow.
put in. If I don't know how to do your stuff like the jump cuts and adding animation, or if I want to have After Effects, if I want to put in some transitions or some
Okay, I'd suggest using CapCut. You can just, it's a desktop application. It's free to use. You can download it from CapCut.com. I think it's CapCut.com.
I have
Search
it.
for this. Yeah, you can just export as clips. So you can go to the bottom of the time thing. At the bottom, next to the export video button, there's the 3 dots. Click on that. There's export clips to a folder, the first option. So what this does is it will take each of these green sections and export them as separate clips, which you can then bring in as a sequence inside CapCut.
Yeah,
and then you can add your transitions separately inside them.
Are you looking? I'm just. I'm understanding the point of.
No, he doesn't. This is basically for him to render itself for him.
Are you looking for it to optimize your workflow with an editor, or are you?
I'm doing
looking
two
at...
things. One, I want to use. The main purpose for me was when I saw your ad like months ago was, hey, it's easy because I can cut up all the time and space for the ums and the ahs and all the dead stuff that I just talked, because it's just me shooting in my house, and then I can chop it up, export it, and then send it to the
designer.
The media company. I'm trying to make it easier for them when I shouldn't be. They should be the one doing it because I pay them to do it.
But this is the thing, like a great storyteller is all about timing. I think this is exactly the same use case that Sandra had that we were just referring. What you're wanting to do, if you're working with the designer, okay, is not much are you going to like what design software should you use? What's your optimized workflow? You can get it. I doubt you want to learn After Effects, okay? Like I really doubt you want to learn After Effects.
No, I'm not going to do that stuff.
No. And I get that. What you want to be able to do is talk to a camera and send something that looks smart and polished, exactly how you see yourself in video, to your designers that Now you're adding on some effects, you're putting in maybe some captions or transitions, but you are in charge of how much time you're taking up of your client's time and what you're saying, right? Then that content. Understand, TimeBolt is perfect for that. And I'm not just saying that because we're TimeBolt people, but what you do is you're going to learn how to use TimeBolt to cut up your timeline. Just think about design as like an x-axis and a y, right? The x-axis is the time, how long is it? And the y-axis is the depth, right? So you're controlling how long is it inside TimeBolt. All you're going to do is learn how to use the quick keys, okay, SOB, to quickly chop up your timeline. You should not be clicking around buttons. I swear. Just, I don't know, Sandra, did you get a chance to push around on the SOB keys?
And I'm loving it. It's a lot faster. The only thing I don't know how to do is once I hit the space bar and I hit it again, it doesn't exactly stop what I wanted because I have it in 1.5 speed.
Use the arrow keys. Yeah, you can use the arrow keys.
Oh, I can use the arrows. Okay.
Doesn't exactly stop here. And Scott, I'll show you what we're referring to here. But if it doesn't exactly stop,
Pretty dang cool.
exactly where you want it to, because you've gone up here, you put this on 1.5x. Never, ever watch your stuff at 1x speed, okay? You always do that, Scott. 1.5x right up here. And then that way, when I hit the space bar, you're not going to press these buttons. You're not going to go like this and then stop and do all that crap, okay? Just remember, SOB, you got a space bar too, okay? Hit space bar, the playhead starts.
Helps you remove all the
And if, let's say,
stuff that makes
it ended up over here and I wanted to stop it before, I just hit the arrow keys. I can go like this, okay?
And then the shift or
Left and
command
right.
arrow sends it back 10 frames, you said? And I just
and
cut it.
I'm
up and
rarely
down.
using that. I know Quinston does, but like this
I
is
use
what
it,
the
but-
point of the back cut is, right? It like that really helps the back cut. I'm gonna hit S. You see what happens here? Creates a
Split.
split. Now, let's say I didn't want to keep this part back here, okay? I don't now then get on my mouse and click this. I just hit S. Now I'm gonna hit B for back cut, right? Boom.
Okay, you can just keep going. I get it now.
Okay. If I wanted to cut what was ahead of this, I would hit O to turn the existing scene off. I'm going to be watching this and I don't want to keep this, but I don't want to keep it until after I've heard it, right? It's like, watch, I don't even have to stop the play.
it helps you remove all the it's fast. Makes you want to hit record on a phone call like
See, like I don't even have to stop
And
the
that's
playhead.
O?
That's B. That's the back
B.
key.
B
Back
back.
cut, yeah.
Okay.
If I wanted to, let's say I was doing a bunch of banter or some other stuff and I wanted to cut out all the stuff before this, I wouldn't go like off. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that. What I would do is I'd go to where I want to keep and I would just hold down the B key. Watch. And when I hold down the B key, you can see time. This is a very helpful tool, right? Time, just see, and I just held it down and it's
So
real
you
fast.
Pick everything from when you start your video, you get your setup and you're at your
Yeah.
camera. You're like, well,
Be
3
that
minutes to get
bitch.
yourself set up and in the flow state. And next thing you're like,
Correct.
oh, great. I can just hold down B from that cut and I'm done. I just start.
It's
All right.
exactly it. And the same with O. Like I could do O forward too. Like I could just go like this and go. I'm saying like,
Okay.
and now
So
everything's
that, and I do it at the end where I'm done and I'm getting
Yeah.
up, going to my camera. I just hit O from that point on and I'm done.
exactly.
Alright.
That's exactly it. Though it's spacebar SOB. And then I would welcome you to go into,
Is there a way to speed up my tone when
well,
whether, am I correct, that when I export, whether it's the clips, Quinston, or whether it's all rendered anyway, but it still takes what, 10, 20 minutes to render it whenever you
Well,
render clips?
if you had your raw file and you didn't want to have to render, you don't have to render this. You no longer have to render this if you are working with an editor. Do not, unless there's one caveat. You shouldn't have to render this video. So after you get done cutting up this timeline, don't click render and then send your video, wait for that and then
Yeah.
send your file. All you're going to do, you have to know what editing program they're using, because you're going to either click Final Cut Pro XML or XML. Okay. It's going to be,
What can you use XML for? What software?
DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro.
Can you do me a favor? Is there possible that you can just show me what it would look like when you XML on, if I don't have one,
Yeah.
what do you think it's easy for me to just, if I want to do it myself and I want to get into it a little bit for like the weekend, is Final Cut
Yeah.
Pro or DaVinci for free?
what do you
I
have?
mean,
What kind of computer do you have?
I have a Mac. And a
Go
Samsung.
Final Cut.
Cut.
Final
Oh,
Cut
yeah.
Pro.
Can you show me
No
when
context.
you take the XML file that's data, which I don't know,
Look,
and
yeah.
import it into the Final Cut Pro program and what I have to do? Because that's
But
getting
just
stuck.
it happens fast. It's so fast. Like I'm not rendering
done.
it. It's already done.
I don't
but-
know how to put it in the program.
Yeah, I get it. You've got this. You're done with the editing, and just make sure that you're spending the time to like know what use possible inside TimeBolt. The punch, the fast forward. You may be given a presentation and you have a demonstration where you want to show, not tell. Fast forward silences. Okay, where you see how this turns to orange, right? Those things come into play very handy. You don't have to even mute it. I can't tell you how much I use fast forward.
Well, that's what I want to.
And And all that
There's a way
stuff.
to get some time, and when you, I don't know if you guys have time to get on a like a, I don't know if you do private or it's all just group, because I would love to utilize the tool. I'm only using 10% of it, right?
Yeah.
Like I could do it if I want to myself without having to pay an editor or pay the team if what they're putting out right now, I think is elementary to like have high standards. Sorry.
Well,
but
it's all right here.
Video is erasing.
I have to somehow teach somebody something, all of this stuff,
it's there,
and
okay.
not make it an hour-long video, right? Even though my videos are fast, my goal in this is like, especially in this, is I want to show you what's possible. Okay. Like
Gotcha.
if you hear of something and you're like, say, for example, a sculpt timeline, like this goes through,
Okay.
even though it's
I didn't watch
fast.
That's what you keep. First, put preview at 1.5x speed
Like
located
all this
above
stuff.
video and preview. Click the timeline, hit spacebar, and now default preview is 1.5x. This is the 4-letter keyword to know. USOB, the goal is to show not tell.
So
Go
fast
here,
forward.
choose between 2, 3, and 4x and mute or unmuted. If the sequence of how I click matters, I say anything less than 3 seconds, auto speed up by 4x. You still see the action?
Gotcha.
Just 3 times faster, which is great for demonstrations and live gameplay.
I'll go there and watch some of those. Hey, how do I import it? You said into Final Cut?
Here, you're going to learn how to use TimeBolt all the way because you're going to use it. At this point, I do Final Cut Pro XML. I'm exporting Final Cut Pro XML. And all I'm going to do is open this. I go open with Final Cut Pro, and I'm just going to put it into some test for Zoom. I don't know, test for Zoom. Or you can create a new project. Okay. Like all that stuff. Okay.
First one.
Here it is. There it is.
So the XML file, if I'm understanding correctly, it converts to to video when you put it in. Am I right? That's what it does?
Not exactly. These are just the cuts. What happens is in this program, it takes the source file and basically shows you the cuts that TimeBolt has made. It doesn't create a new file. It's just an abstraction.
Putting clothes on.
Yeah, it's an abstraction.
Like,
Is there a
you
way
have
to take your XML file and convert it to MP4 and then drop it into any software I want?
No, you don't
Why
want
would
to
you
do
want
that
to?
with Final Cut
I don't
Pro.
know. I'm just
Yeah.
The reason,
You don't want it.
well, hold on. The reason I'm showing it to you this way is because you had just said you start a render and it takes you 2 hours, right? What I just showed you took 20 seconds, right? Like the XML file. Now you've got an XML file that you have full drag handle control. You can still do stuff with it. Not that you want to. You really shouldn't have to do anything. Like once you got.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, now the cuts are made. Now you can like apply your effects. You can add your
Gotcha.
transitions. But where the basically like the start of a new concept is versus just one long timeline.
I got you.
And now you don't even know where your cuts are because
Yep.
TimeBolt's so good at it. It's going to cut it by the millisecond, right? So now you've got to find down to the millisecond where to add some transitions. But if you're going to do something like your editors or yourself, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You just need to know what program they are using.
I got you. No, that makes it. I get it now. It makes it very easy. Yeah,
and
because
so
I'm like you said. Like I get it now. When Quincy's like, "Why would you want to do that?" Because you get one file now. You have no cuts. You don't know where to put in the B-roll. You don't know where to put your transition.
Exactly.
It's lost now because now he's got to go back and make those transitions on the cut. Right? Am I
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Your editor is going to love you. Okay.
Well,
when
I kind of let them go just now. That's why.
there you go.
If you watched my video recently, I don't like the clips that are coming on. I didn't like them.
Well, your editor, whoever you use, will love you for that because now what you're going to do is after you get done using TimeBolt and you export FCPXML, you're either going to put it into Final Cut Pro. Okay, I'm sorry, into Final Cut Pro. Or you're going to, if your editor was using Final Cut Pro, you would take this XML file that's only 3 kilobits, okay? Along with the raw video that you threw into TimeBolt.
The original one. Okay.
Yeah, which is this CFR, okay?
Yeah.
And you just take those 2 files and send them to your thing. He will literally put that on his computer and he'll be able to use the XML and it'll know to call that freaking video somehow. You don't have to render anything.
So they'll get everything, but I can make it a lot easier for myself if I just use the tools that TimeBolt already has. When you do your jump cuts in and out, do I have to play around so that my eyes are level, or does it follow?
Yeah, you can set that up.
I can watch the
if you want
tutorial.
to.
I just didn't. If you have it, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
are you
you
talking about
can.
like punch values and stuff?
Yeah, like if I want to punch in on something I'm saying, but then I want my eyes to be the same
Well,
when I come back.
There's 2 different things with punch, okay? You have you hit P and like I'm just hitting the P key. That it'll go in 3 levels, okay? That's punch. You can also zoom around your punch once you're punched in, hit Alt or Enter, Alt or Option, and then your arrow keys. I can see how it's going top right,
Yeah.
bottom right. It's basically split up into 9 quadrants based on like maybe my top 150 isn't exactly centered. I'm like, oh man, I can't do 150. What are you going to do is you're going to go over here to settings and you can look at maybe making this like 150, 120. Okay. And doing this third one here, like 140. You can basically change the, like, that's 120 and I could go like that, right?
Yeah,
like,
you
so
can make it and play with it.
And then what's nice is you're going through
or full in video. You'll come to learn that.
and you can hit P again. And what it'll do is it'll reference the old punch value. That way, you're not having to like, if you got, it's consistent until you like don't want it to be consistent. And then you just hit P again. Watch this. I'll hit P again and it just cycled through. You know what I'm saying? It's not doing the top 120, right? And then that way it's really easy to reset.
Gotcha. What do you find that the majority of people come to TimeBolt and they really use the other stuff, not the typical stuff?
I use like, this is the thing. When you're talking about work, it's a video communications tool. This tool allows you to communicate more effective in video. If let's say I'll give you some examples. I got a client, I talk with VCs. We're entering into some VC pitch contests, right? I get this incredible feedback from some great individuals. Well, I don't just like try and listen to it on the phone. Like there's some good, valuable like feedback that you get. I record this feedback on my phone while we're talking on Zoom. I even like an MP or just record the Zoom. And what I'll do is, because this is like really important to me, I'll now throw that, I swear, right after my call, I'll throw that damn video, I'll throw that file right here into TimeBolt, that Zoom into TimeBolt. All the dead air is automatically cut up. What I do now is I do export, add clips to render queue as a WAV file. Okay, watch how fast this goes. Boom. That is how fast it took to render that as a WAV file. And now I can send that to my phone, right? I just airdrop it to my phone. And now all of a sudden, now when I go walk the dog and I've got stuff like that, I've got a time compressed file of whatever I listen to. There's that. When it comes to one of the big things that I use TimeBolt all the time for is capture. Okay, I'm going to start capturing all of our videos inside TimeBolt.
If I want to do,
you're going to get some value out of this. If you've got, do you see where I hit that right there? Capture. You can actually record your screen, your webcam. Okay, and what I would do here is like right now, I'm just capturing our Yeti Nano. I can capture any one of my screens in high quality you have a Mac, you can do high quality, or I can do standard quick and small, which would be like, hey, look, I got to give some financial analysis to my neighbor or close customer that I could write a 5 or 10 paragraph email, take screenshots, take the time to schedule a Zoom call, or I can take 10 minutes out of my time. Okay. And I'm going to do standard quick and small because he doesn't need a 3 gig file. Okay. Yeah. He just needs something that's watchable, right? And that's the key.
Like an email video for 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
That's exactly. You can either do standard, quick, and small. If you're uploading to YouTube, do YouTube. But all that stuff goes away. Now I could talk, give you some creative feedback. Okay. I could stop talking, go full screen, start talking again. And then when I stop talking and go back, I just keep switching around screens, right? That's what's cool. They're like, hey, can I get a circle? Can't do this. Right? A circle cannot like be stuck anywhere and you kind of go back and forth between full screen and other screens. This is the
circle.
And circles can't do this, right? You're able to just be different. After you get done talking, okay, I'll show you how quick this is, what your options are. Hit stop recording. That's where all these like random videos, look how much videos like I make. I put that in. Please tell me I was recording. I must have messed
Yeti.
up. Yeah, the Yeti.
Yeti didn't.
You didn't switch over to your mic.
Damn it.
That's all right. No, I get it. Trust me. But I like it. I think here would like it too because it eliminates, let's say, a Zoom. If I really want to do a Zoom, or if I'm going to do the quality is the same, right? Whether I record or can I record on my phone also and still have?
Yeah, you can drop it in. Like this actually has an output inside here.
Because Doug, what I'm saying is if I want to record,
there's me on my phone. See that? I can hear you.
Okay,
I'm showing you that on your phone. You can actually.
If I'm recording on my phone and then I got my laptop here, can I have 2 of them that I recording my phone and also showing at the same time, and then I can have them together, chop it up, and send it as if I'm doing like a whiteboard kind of thing. One camera at a time. Okay.
Yeah, one camera at a time. But this is the thing. I had been recording. This is the same. No, there's no circles because the reason there's no circles. What the hell? Oh, I was actually. That's so crazy. I was actually telling somebody about no circles when somebody asked about. That's so funny. I picked this video. So then what happens here? I can.
As he's recording the second time with no circles.
So that's even a cool little view right down there. I like that. Yeah. I like it. Screw a circle. This right here. So now what I could do is, if you're sending a video that like you just like to a friend or colleague, definitely put turbo mode on. I usually put it at like, if I'm sending it to Quincy, I'm like at 1.2x. Okay. just because we're colleagues, but put it at 1.25. So now you have an option. You can either export video, Maximilian's here. I remember this. You can either export the video here, right? And that'll actually put it on your computer and then you can send it. Okay. But the real benefit is like you can hit export to an unlisted link. Okay. It's called Send a Banger. And this is available with all non-lifetime plans because it's a cloud-based service. Like we can't do cloud-based services for life. That would be a quick path to nowhere. What happens here is, check this out. I click this link faster than you can record it, in less time than it takes to record live. You have you can actually like make a screen recording of a video. You have this in an unlisted link that you can then put into a body of an email. And we've even made it to where like you can place this into an email.
And without even touching it, it'll just play.
But it's GIF. Yeah, it's a GIF preview.
It gives you a, like, you see that? It gives you a visual of what gets people to click, right? It's not just like a link. And
I'll use that.
You can put that into, you can go to message with it. It does the same thing on Slack. It puts it on both mobile and desktop. But that's where TimeBolt becomes a tool to communicate more effective with video at work and not just on
People
YouTube.
understood that you can do that with this software. They don't have to pay for like a bomb or something like that. Yep.
Exactly.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
No, thanks for choosing TimeBolt. Anybody else have a question? Or are we?
I have one last one.
Okay, sure.
When you want to put the chapters on a video, how do I know that I'm putting it in the exact second on the timeline that I want it to be? Right, but the start just goes always to the left-hand side.
Every chapter is based on the start of each cut. For example, one trick that you can do is, like if you want to put it exactly at that point, every chapter by default is going to be at the start of the block. The green block is going to be at the start. If you want it to be exactly at one point, you'll have to split the timeline there and then add the block and then add the chapter. So for example, Doug, can you split the timeline here? Yeah.
Yes. And if I wanted it to be like right here, I would then go.
So you want it to be exactly there, you split it there, and then you add your chapter.
Okay, good. That answers my question. Thank you.
You bet.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, that's it for this episode of TimeBolt Office Hours on August 1st. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, the notification bell when we go live. Thank you so much, everyone, for choosing TimeBolt, and we're out of time. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.